What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Richard Sherman being arrested on burglary, domestic violence, and much more. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, as we learned earlier on Wednesday, Richard Sherman was booked for burglary, domestic violence, and a couple of other charges. He was brought before a judge for a bail hearing. He was denied bail, which is not something that you typically see, especially with high profile people on lower charges. So there's definitely a lot of evidence here, a lot of things that are being said behind the scenes that we're not privy to at this time. But I have Adam Schefter's timeline. I have ESPN's reporting on this, and I just want to go through the timeline here and go through everything that we currently know. But before we do that, just give me your quick thoughts on what you thought when you saw this and kind of when we first talked about it.
I was in disbelief, honestly. When I think of Richard Sherman, I think of he's an upstanding citizen, outstanding guy, a guy who is a leader in locker rooms, a leader off the field as well. He's a guy that a lot of people look up to. He's a guy who came out of Compton. He's a guy who made it out of Stanford University as the valedictorian of his class. This guy had so much going for him, and he was such an inspiration to so many young people. And to now see this happening, it just doesn't add up to me. Something went wrong with him in some way, and I hope that this can get straightened out. I hope that he didn't actually do some of the things that they actually said, but we will find out. It's just a shame, honestly, because I really, really respect and enjoy Richard Sherman playing the game of football.
Yeah, Richard Sherman, when he comes to my mind, besides the infamous image of him, going from joy to crying in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, what really stands out to me is how smart of an individual he is. He's so calculated with everything he does and says. So for me to really believe that he did some of these things, there's going to have to be a lot of evidence that proves to me. Because again, as we say with all of these videos, this man is innocent until he is proven guilty in a court of law. And at this point, I'm on Richard Sherman's side. I believe that, we're going to hear the facts as they come out, but I need to hear both sides of the story before we can really make a determination. All right, let's go through the timeline, starting off with ESPN's article about this. Came out at 11:17 on Wednesday morning, Eastern time. And it says free agent cornerback Richard Sherman was booked at 6:08 a.m. local time Wednesday at the King County Correctional Facility in Seattle and is being investigated for burglary, domestic violence, which is a felony charge according to public records. Records state he was denied bail, but a spokesman for the Redmond Police Department told ESPN that is standard procedure for suspects of domestic violence until they can appear before a judge. Sherman's hearing before a judge will not take place until Thursday afternoon. So the day that this came out, today, Thursday, that is when he will be before a judge in Seattle taking a look at this case. The Washington State Police are also investigating Sherman for a separate incident that happened an hour earlier Wednesday. Sherman is being investigated by the state police in connection to a hit and run, damage to State Department of Transportation property. The spokesman for the Redmond PD said a 911 call from the residents was received at 2 a.m. Pacific time. The person calling said that an adult male family member who did not live at the residence was attempting to force his way into the home. When police arrived, Sherman was outside the home. He fought with police but was eventually apprehended with the help of a canine unit and taken to a local hospital and checked. After he was cleared medically, he was booked into the King County Correctional Facility. The Washington State Police received a report of a single car accident at approximately 1 a.m. Pacific time. The car, which was registered to Sherman, had struck a concrete barrier and was abandoned in a nearby parking lot. In the course of trying to track down Sherman on a blood search warrant, which was sought to determine whether he was impaired related to the hit and run, state police then were in touch with the Redmond police. They ended up at the scene of the 911 call and identified Sherman on the scene. The investigation is ongoing and has not yet been criminally charged in relation to the alleged domestic violence or hit and run. Okay. So we take a look at everything that ESPN had to say here, and they are essentially saying that Richard Sherman, with everything that's going on, got into a single car accident where he hit a concrete barrier, drove away from the scene of the crime, and then continued on to some family members' residence and then tried to break in essentially where he didn't live and tried to either get to his family or whatever the case is. But 911 was called and emergency responders did show up. um, we take a look at the timeline here, and Adam Schefter laid it out perfectly on Twitter. But he also said that Richard Sherman's wife, Ashley Moss, told the Seattle Times, he didn't harm anybody. My kids are not harmed in the incident. He's a good person, and that this is not his character. We're doing all right, just trying to get him out. I want people to know no one was injured. So we have an incident of hit and run. Somebody called the police on Richard as he was trying to get into the home, and nobody was hurt in the process, which is a blessing all around. I thank my lucky stars that nobody was injured on any sort of front. At this time, this is pretty much everything that we know. Again, he has not been formally charged, and he's going to be in front of a judge this morning in Seattle to go over the case against him and really go over this. But as domestic violence is concerned, a huge issue in this country, and with the way that things are set up, it's automatically denying a bail, which makes a lot more sense to me as to why somebody who's so high profile as Richard Sherman is, specifically in the Seattle, Washington area, it would make me understand why he was denied bail in the first place, because it is an automatic before he can see a judge. And because that happened today, yeah, the justice system doesn't work very fast. We all know that pretty well at this point. So he at least he gets to be within a judge within 24 hours. Hopefully he'll be able to be released on his own recognizance. This man has nothing in his background that should be checkered or anything that should stand out to them, saying that he's a flight risk or anything like that. But with all of that being said, Nick, I just want to get your thoughts on what Adam Schefter talked about in his tweets, what ESPN wrote in their articles. What are your thoughts?
It still seems like there is a lot of things that need to be sorted out by the police department, and eventually we'll find out exactly what occurred. But with the way it stands, it just seems like there's one crazy event that leads into another crazy event, and it just doesn't fit Richard Sherman's character. And that's why I still have a hard time believing it. And I really want to be on Richard Sherman's side. Luckily, like you said, no one got injured. And so that makes the situation a lot better for him in the grand scheme of things for his career and his legacy. But I think Richard Sherman, I think he can bounce back from this. This seems like something that really just, he wasn't himself in this moment. And you know what? People make mistakes, but it's all about giving them that second chance. And I hope that Richard Sherman learns from this mistake and that eventually we can all move on from this.
Yeah, I'd much rather be talking about landing spots for Richard Sherman as a free agent cornerback, such as the New York Jets or the San Francisco 49ers, maybe a reunion with Pete Carroll in Seattle. I would love to see a lot of that happen versus talking about legal troubles. We have seen in the last couple of weeks Frank Clark, who, for the Kansas City Chiefs, who got indicted for having an Uzi in his vehicle, an automatic handgun in his car. On top of the fact that we saw Barkevius Mingo getting in trouble, the NFL has had their fair share of issues in the past, and it just mounting over and over and over again. I'd rather be talking about the actual sport than all of this, but it is what it is for now, and whether we want to or not, we have to cover this because that's what we do here. But that'll be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.